Shut that, give me a bit, that's better. Hi, and welcome to another live game streaming video. I'm not sure what the kind of quality is going to be like because I'm shooting over 4G, but I just wanted to sort of speak about a news article that I've just read about Nintendo going after YouTube channels for some of their content. So we all know that Nintendo are extremely protective over their games and their intellectual property rights, and they don't like people using them without their permission or doing anything that would be slightly untoward. So this news article relates to a YouTuber called Retro Game Corps, who I've used in the past, and I have to say it's probably inspired me to make some of my content. They focus on reviews of portable handheld emulation devices such as things like the Ambinics and the Mayus and the Retroids, and they show you what they can do, what systems they can run, what the quality of them are, the build quality. So it's a good review site. And they've just had a video taken down. This was regarding or relating to the Wii U, so I'm not sure how that correlates to sort of the emulation devices. It's obviously worrying when you get a content strike, especially, and I don't know if it's Nintendo particularly taking it down, or whether Nintendo's contacted YouTube, or whether YouTube recognised that the content might be slightly but he obviously is a bit worried. Now, this is the second video he has had taken off. The first one I can quite understand because it was about a Switch dump card, which allows you to dump games from your Switch into ROM format, I assume, onto your PC, and it's an area that it is a little dubious. You can't really back up your ROMs because that is what the only sort of legal route that you, or the only decent route that you'd go do for that. But obviously it's got the other side of it, whereas if you're dumping ROMs and you're keeping them, you could share them and it could spread piracy, and that is what Nintendo don't want to be doing. I do remember the good old days of when like the R4 cards came out for the DS and everyone was raving about them and showing them online, and Nintendo was slapping them left, right and centre, which is fairly understandable, but it does put other people's channels in a little bit of jeopardy if that sort of thing is going on. I have featured emulation devices on my channel. I've featured Nintendo games in those, so it does worry you a little bit. I've played things like Super Mario World on my PlayStation 2. Am I then going to get slapped for that at some point? And it is a little worry. I can understand that Nintendo want to keep things legal and they want to keep their money side going. Obviously, with these portable handheld devices like the Ambinic, I went and bought an Ambinic RG35XX8 for the purposes of being a portable emulation machine. Bought mine and it came with about 15,000 games pre-installed. That is a little bit on the dodgy side. I don't see there's anything wrong with the hardware itself, but when they're shipping out 15,000 games for various systems, so you've got systems from Nintendo, so Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, GameCube, N64, Wii. No, mine doesn't go for the Wii, but I think maybe some of them might. That's a big bunch of games that could be, well, they're Nintendo games. They're owned by Nintendo. Obviously, they do the same for Sega, so you get games on there for the Master System, Mega Drive, the Game Gear, the Saturn, the Dreamcast. There's Atari consoles on there, ColecoVision, Bandai, Neo Geo. There's a whole bunch of games on there. I did notice, and I did talk about this in a previous video, that there were no Mario titles on there, although there are Nintendo games. I couldn't find any Mario games in there. So I can understand that Nintendo don't want these companies sending out consoles with their games all in them, and then you get YouTubers like Retro Games Corps reviewing them and showing them off with Nintendo It's not the best. I mean, the hardware, that's fantastic if you're using it for its legal purposes of playing your backed up ROMs of games that you've ripped and you still own. That is what that is, I think, we would class as the grey area, the only legal side for emulation. And then if, let's say, YouTube reviewers are reviewing these consoles and praising them, it's just that Nintendo aren't making any money off these consoles. They do put some of the games on things like the Nintendo Switch Online service, or they bundle them in sort of compilations, and they have done over the years on various systems, and they still do. But the vast majority of Nintendo games don't ever see the light again. So piracy and ROMs, etc., are the only way for sort of game preservation. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's Nintendo just jumping down on a big YouTuber, because Retro Games Corp's big name. Would they trickle that down to someone like myself who's had the odd video? I know that he's now looking, this Retro Games Corp, at not putting any Nintendo games in future videos. That's going to be a real downer. And he's also thinking of going back to his previous videos and blurring out any Nintendo content. That's going to have a huge impact on him. It's going to have a huge impact on the scene. And I think it's a little bit over the top, but that's Nintendo. They do a lot of cease and desist, and I wouldn't be surprised if the YouTubers that are looking at these, I think it's called the MIG, for the Switch, where you can play multiple games on one system, if they don't get slapped. It's they don't want these sort of things promoted. They don't want piracy. They don't want money taken away from their pocket. And it is understandable, but I just think that it's a bit heavy-handed to be given copyright strikes or content strikes on YouTube channels that cover a vast amount of systems, including Nintendo, but others as well. So it's a bit of a kick in the teeth and a bit of a worry, like I say, for other YouTubers who use Nintendo content, possibly use emulated Nintendo games on their channel. I myself, I own a huge selection of things like Super Nintendo and DS games. But the easiest way of capturing those is to run an emulator. So, am I in trouble for that? Could I be in trouble for that? Could I get a content slap from Nintendo or YouTube or whoever sort of is throwing that out? It would be a real shame to see this Retro Games Corp's go down or be taken. I'm not sure how many strikes you can have. 3, I think it is. Within 3 in 12 months or 3 over a lifetime span, I don't know. But it is what it is, and this video is more of a warning to just let anyone who does review Nintendo games or does look at these handheld emulation devices. I've myself has reviewed them, and I've used Nintendo games in various videos. So it may make me think about it in future, because I don't particularly want my channel to be discontinued. It's nowhere near as big as somewhere like Retro Games Corp's, but it's a growing channel. It's a passion project, and I do cover a lot of Nintendo content. So, word of warning: if you're a YouTuber, or if you are a YouTube watcher, you might start to see some of these videos disappear. Some of these channels might end up disappearing, and I kind of get it from Nintendo, but I think they just go a bit heavy. So yeah, maybe this guy Retro Games Corp will put out a video regarding the subject, and you can get more information as to exactly what it was. Like I said, the first content strike he had was about a Switch dump card, and now I think possibly Nintendo are just keeping a bit of a closer eye on him, or YouTuber keeping more of a closer eye on the content that he's putting out. But as he said, it is gonna have an impact on his channel. It'll have an impact on his revenue, I assume, and what sort of content that he puts out in future, because he's going to be a bit more careful, as will other YouTubers who do similar things. Or it just puts that in the back of your mind when you're making content. So yeah. Well, that is about it, and I hope this stream has come out okay. I am in a 4G in the middle of nowhere. The weather is absolutely horrendous. I'm not sure you can see that, but it's not great. Oh, it is not great weather, and that can affect the quality of the stream. So back to the subject in mind, not the weather in good old UK. But yeah, just keep in mind when you're browsing YouTube, or if you're a YouTube content creator, when you're thinking about putting some content out, Nintendo are getting quite strict. They've always been strict, and they do really like to enforce that at times. Hopefully this video won't get taken off. Like, subscribe, enjoy.